the mind-blowing Greek creation, myth explained. From nothing came everything. Before earth, before sky, before the gods themselves, there was only chaos. Welcome to a journey through one of humanity's oldest and most fascinating stories, the Greek creation myth. I'm your guide through this epic tale of how the ancient Greeks believed our world came to be. Unlike modern scientific explanations, which speak of big bangs and evolution, the Greeks told stories of primordial deities, cosmic battles, and family drama on a universal scale. These weren't just entertaining tales. They were attempts to make sense of existence itself. Our primary source for this creation story comes from a poet named Hesiod, who lived around 700 BCE. His work, Theogony, which literally means the birth of the gods, provides our most complete account of Greek creation mythology. So, let's begin at the beginning, with chaos. In Greek, chaos doesn't mean disorder as we use it today. It described a yawning void, a vast emptiness from which everything else would emerge. Hesiod describes chaos as a gap, perhaps the gap between heaven and earth, though at this point neither existed yet. From chaos, the first primordial deities emerged. First came Gaia, Earth, the great mother who would birth much of what was to come. Then appeared Tartarus, the deepest, darkest pit in the underworld. And then came Eros, not the cute cherub of Valentine's cards, but a primordial force of attraction that would allow creation to continue. Gaia then gave birth to Uranus, sky, the mountains and Pontus, the sea, all without mating. Uranus stretched himself over Gaia, covering her completely, and together they produced the first generation of gods, the Titans. 12 Titans were born, 6 male and 6 female. The most important were Oceanus, Hyperion, Coeus, Creus, Iapetus, and the youngest and most terrible of the brothers, Kronos. The sisters were Thea, Rhea, Themis, Mnemosyne, Phoebe, and Tethys. But the Titans weren't the only children of Gaia and Uranus. They also produced the one-eyed Cyclopes and the 100-handed Hecatoncheires, monsters of immense strength. Uranus, horrified by these monstrous offspring, imprisoned them deep within Gaia's body, causing her tremendous pain. This brings us to the first great conflict in Greek mythology, a pattern that would repeat throughout their pantheon. Gaia, furious at Uranus for imprisoning her children within her, crafted a great adamantine sickle and asked her Titan children to help overthrow their father. Only Kronos was willing. In a moment of brutal violence that would echo through generations, Kronos ambushed his father and castrated him with the sickle. The blood that fell upon Gaia produced the Furies, the Giants, and the Melii, ash tree nymphs. Meanwhile, Uranus's severed genitals fell into the sea, creating a foam from which Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, was born. With Uranus defeated, Kronos became the ruler of the cosmos. He married his sister Rhea, and together they began to have children. But Kronos had learned a harsh lesson from his father's overthrow, that children can rise against their parents. So when Rhea gave birth to their first child, Hestia, Kronos swallowed the infant whole. This horrific pattern continued with the births of Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, each devoured by their father as soon as they were born. When Rhea was pregnant with her 6th child, Zeus, she turned to Gaia for help. Following Gaia's advice, Rhea hid on the island of Crete to give birth in secret. She then wrapped a stone in swaddling clothes and gave it to Kronos, who swallowed it thinking it was his newborn son. Zeus grew up hidden away, raised by nymphs who fed him honey and goat's milk. When he reached adulthood, he returned to challenge his father. With the help of Metis, who would later become his first wife, Zeus tricked Kronos into drinking a special potion that caused him to vomit up all his swallowed children. First the stone, then Zeus's 5 siblings, fully grown and unharmed. This miracle rescue marked the beginning of the Titanomachy, the great 10-year war between the Titans and this new generation of gods, who would come to be known as the Olympians. Zeus freed the Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires from their imprisonment, and they joined his cause. The Cyclopes crafted powerful weapons for the Olympians: thunderbolts for Zeus, a trident for Poseidon, and a helmet of invisibility for Hades. The war was cataclysmic. Mountains were hurled like pebbles. The Hecatoncheires, with their 100 hands, threw hundreds of boulders at once at the Titans. The earth shook, the skies burned, and the sea boiled. Finally, Zeus and his siblings emerged victorious. Most of the Titans were imprisoned in Tartarus, guarded by the Hecatoncheires. Atlas, a key Titan general, received a special punishment. He was condemned to hold up the sky for eternity. With the Titans defeated, Zeus and his siblings established a new order. They drew lots to divide the rule of the cosmos. Zeus won the sky and overall leadership, Poseidon received the sea, and Hades got the underworld. The earth itself would be shared domain, though with Zeus as ultimate authority. But the creation story wasn't quite complete. The Olympians still faced one more terrifying challenge: Typhoeus, sometimes called Typhon, a monstrous son of Gaia and Tartarus. With 100 dragon heads, eyes that shot flames, and a body that combined human and serpentine features, Typhoeus was created by Gaia as one last attempt to overthrow the new order. In a final epic battle, Zeus faced Typhoeus alone. Hurling thunderbolts and chasing the monster across the world, Zeus eventually prevailed, trapping Typhoeus beneath Mount Etna, where the Greeks believed his movements and fiery breath caused volcanic eruptions. With this final victory, the cosmos, as the Greeks knew it, was established. Zeus married multiple times and fathered many children, populating the pantheon with deities who controlled various aspects of life: Apollo, sun and prophecy; Artemis, moon and hunting; Athena, wisdom and warfare; Hermes, messengers and travelers; Dionysus, wine and ecstasy; and many more. But what about humans? In Greek mythology, humans weren't central to creation. We came later. The most common myth says that Prometheus, a clever titan who had sided with Zeus, created humans from clay. Athena breathed life into them, and Prometheus grew fond of his creation. When Zeus withheld fire from humans, Prometheus stole it from Mount Olympus and gave it to us, an act of defiance that led to his famous punishment: being chained to a rock where an eagle ate his liver daily, only for it to regenerate each night. Zeus, angered by Prometheus's theft, created Pandora, the first woman, and gave her a jar, often mistranslated as a box, containing all the evils of the world. When curiosity led her to open it, these evils escaped to plague humanity forever. Yet one thing remained in the jar: hope. So what does this elaborate creation myth tell us about the ancient Greeks? First, it reveals their understanding of the world as born from conflict and struggle. Creation wasn't peaceful. It was violent, marked by betrayal and war. This reflected the Greeks' understanding that the natural world itself contains fundamental conflicts between order and chaos, creation and destruction. Second, the succession of divine generations, from chaos to the primordials to the Titans to the Olympians, showed a universe evolving toward order and justice. Zeus's rule, while not perfect, was presented as more just and balanced than the cruel reigns of Uranus and Kronos. Third, the role of Gaia throughout the myth highlights the importance the Greeks placed on the earth as mother and nurturer. Despite the patriarchal structure of Greek society, their creation myth places a female deity, Gaia, as the fundamental creative force. Finally, the repeated pattern of children overthrowing fathers spoke to the Greeks' recognition of generational change and conflict, something universally human that we still recognize today. Unlike many religious creation stories, the Greek myth doesn't promote moral lessons so much as it explains why the world is as it is: beautiful yet terrible, orderly yet chaotic, divine yet mortal. It's a sophisticated attempt to make sense of existence through narrative rather than dogma. Today, we may not believe in Titans and Olympians literally, but the Greek creation myth continues to influence our culture, art, literature, and even language. When we describe someone's Achilles heel or a Herculean task, we're drawing on this rich mythological tradition. The Greek creation story reminds us that humans have always sought to understand our origins through storytelling. Whether through myth, religion, or science, we continue to ask the same fundamental questions. Where did we come from? How did all this begin? And what does it mean for how we should live? From chaos came cosmos. Order from disorder. Meaning from meaninglessness. Perhaps that's the most enduring legacy of the Greek creation myth. The hope that even in a universe that can seem chaotic and cruel, we can find patterns, purpose, and beauty. Thank you for joining me on this journey from the primordial void to the birth of the world as the ancient Greeks imagined it. If you enjoyed this exploration of Greek mythology, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, may the gods smile upon you.